Hey everybody, this is Tom with VermiBag. Today I'm going to go ahead and harvest one of the 14-gallon totes that I'm running as breeder bins right now. This is just over 3 weeks, just barely. I think it's like 22 days. But for the last week, I haven't added any more water to it, so I've kind of let it dry out a little bit because I want to get it where I could sift it fairly easily. And that's the nice thing with the tote is there's so much airflow in there that you can actually get the system to start drying out. And that's what's time consuming is, getting a system. If you're trying to do a breeder bin and if you're running it really wet, it's damn near impossible to do a sifting on the material. You either have to do light separation or let it sit somewhere and dry out. With the tote, if you give it about a week before you're getting ready to harvest, after about 14-15 days, just don't add any more moisture to the system. I'm not going to say it dries out, but it gets to like that perfect moisture level that you can actually sift it really easily. And the only thing I do then is before I harvest, I go ahead and go in there and I just mix the system. Well, I do that actually at the 14-day mark too. I reach in and I just completely mix the system up really well and break up anything that's kind of sticking together. And that really lets the air start getting in there. So for that last week, I have a lot of air going in there and it'll really, get it down to that level you need to sift it during that last week. And that's exactly what's happened with this. I have about 2 pounds of euros in here and I had about 3 gallons of bedding. But I did go in with this, and I'll bring you in closer and show you, but I went ahead and went in there again one final time just now and just gently just went through and just crushed up any material that was sticking together. So that way when I put it through the 1/4-inch sift or the screen here, it'll go through real easily and I can separate the worms, just in a heartbeat. I don't have to do any picking. I just sift a little bit, give it a couple shakes, and then dump them. And then I can leave them in the tub there just for 5 minutes maybe, kind of let them ball up and I can get the remaining material off real easily. So I'll bring you in close and I'll show you how quick it's going to be to go through these 2 pounds and get the castings and the cocoons out of this. Okay, so one final time, again I'm going to go through here, just make sure there's no big clumps or anything. You're not going to hurt the worms doing this. And this material is just the perfect consistency and moisture. It'll easily go through the screen. And I may have lost a little bit of cocoon production over the last week by letting this dry out just a little bit, but it is absolutely worth it to me to be able to do this screening process in just a matter of minutes versus taking an hour to go through and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the camera on. I'm going to do the whole thing, so if you don't want to watch this whole process you can kind of skip on a few minutes until I'm done, but just to show you how quick and easy it really is. And as I screen them here, I'm just going to dump them into another tub over here behind me. Put that down a little further, I'm sorry. Didn't realize I didn't have the screen there. And see, it's all the chunks of leaves and stuff that I had in there that are plugging this up. It's still going through real easily. I'll literally have this done in maybe 2 minutes. It's not going to take very long at all. All the material that's left in here, you can just go ahead and put that back in the system when you restart it. I may take some of it out and screen it one more time for I don't have any big things, because I must have had somewhere along the line I put a few chunks of something in here, because I definitely have some bigger pieces that you can go through a 1/4-inch screen. And again, for breeders I like to have everything through a 1/4-inch screen. Because then when you do this process right here, it is really, really quick, as you can tell how quick this is. I'm almost done. That's it. We're done with that whole tub, just like that. Okay, so this is the pile of worms and material that wouldn't go through the 1/4-inch screen. So I'm just going to give this a few minutes and let the worms kind of dig to the center, and then I'll go ahead and scrape off a little bit of this material so I don't put it all back into the reset system. So here's all the castings and cocoons that I got out of that system. There should be about 3 gallons here of material. Now you could process it just like this. If you want to go ahead and harvest the cocoons out of it, which I do, I'll probably let it sit just for a day, just for it dries out a tiny little bit. It would probably go through an 1/8-inch screen right now, but it just makes my life a lot easier if I just give it a day to kind of aerate a little bit. And that's the other nice thing about the totes, is I can just take these cocoons and stick them in this tote, and since there's air coming in all sides of this tote, it'll let those cocoons dry out really, really fast. And not overly dry, but it'll take moisture out real quickly. So it's kind of dual purpose sometimes. So I'm going to let these sit for a day, aerate them just a little bit, and then I'm just going to separate that pile just slightly to get my 2 pounds-ish of Euros out of there. And I already have some bedding prepared for these. I'm just having a bucket right now. And this has all been sifted. And this is just a mixture of coconut coir, peat moss, a little bit of sifted horse manure. I did put some ground up oyster shells in here just to offset the pH of the peat moss. Then I added a little bit of alfalfa meal that I ground up, or pellets that I ground up in there. And this is really nice stuff. The worms really, really like it. So I have basically just a little bit over 3 gallons here. So I'll put the 3 gallons with the 2 pounds-ish of Euros that I have there. It's probably a little under 2 pounds. And I'll set it back into that tote and get it reset. I'll just briefly show you how I do this. I mean, everybody and their brother does this all the time, so it's no secret. I just take it and let them sit there for a few minutes, and then you can get the outer layer of this thing off with hardly any worms. And it really doesn't take, if you don't put a lot of material in here, it doesn't take that long to separate these things. I mean, definitely within 5 minutes, and not working on it straight for 5 minutes, within 5 minutes of my time, I can have this down to just a solid worm ball. Because once you get it like that, and it's kind of cool because what I like about it is how, as you get closer, the worms just push all that material up and it falls off. Especially if you push it into like a square, like that there, into a real nice. You can just hear it, all the material just starts falling off as the worms push it out. It just rolls off. Nothing I figured out, I guess I didn't think about it before, because I wasn't normally into doing breeder bins because I had plenty of worms. But since getting back to Washington State, and I need worms right now, so I kind of got back into breeding. And it's a lot easier to separate European night crawlers from the bedding than it is the red wigglers. They're a lot smaller and the bedding tends to be a lot wetter. It's still, I've done it really successfully with the totes, even on the red wigglers, but the cocoons are just so much bigger on the Euros. It's just a lot easier to do it. If you're just going for castings, I kind of personally think that the red wigglers are better for casting. I think they do a better job personally. But if you want a multi-purpose worm, the Euros are nice because you can also do, fishing worms with them. And they're just big, and they're, like I said, I think they're easier to actually harvest because of their size. But So I think at that point right there, I'm going to go ahead and just take these and put them in a container and call it good and set them in some new bedding. So I went ahead and put 1.5 pounds of Euros in 3 gallons of bedding here. So I spread them out. I like to spread them out just a little bit. I think it speeds up the process of getting them in there and they don't ball up and gets them accustomed to the new bedding. So I'll put a lid on this and put them out where there's some light and overnight a little light, because even with this good bedding sometimes they'll be up the side for some reason. They just, that first day, anything new they're not 100% certain about. So that's it for doing a reset on a breeder bin, a 14-gallon tote. Real successful. This one didn't have as high a cocoons as some of the others I ran wetter. There's definitely a difference. So, I mean, if you're wanting just cocoons, you're going to leave it a little wetter the whole time and just put up with the pain it is to do the separation here. But if you don't care, maybe take a 20% hit on the cocoons you get, you can let her dry out a little bit that last week, and it makes it so much easier to harvest these and redo the reset. So for me, it's worth it. Just let it get a little bit drier for you can actually do a sifting on it. So this is Tom with VermiBag. Till next time, ciao.